Hi, Sean here, the Teen Librarian at the Palm Springs Public Library, and this is our instructional video for our attack of the winter Bristlebots. I've got 3 designs that we're going to do. I'll just show you how to do the 3 basic designs. We've got a snowman, a reindeer, and a walrus. And as well, I'll show you how to do the basic instructions for the bot. I would recommend you have in your kit, you have all 3, the makings for all 3 here on the plate. I would recommend whichever design you choose to do, I would recommend making it first, because the glue, when you do glue them, by the way, you need to glue them. When you do glue the parts together, they should probably sit for a couple of hours before you attach them to the bot. So the toothbrush is really cheap. We got that at the dollar store. You can probably get a packet there for a couple, for $1. Get a pair of pliers and just get really close to the head of the toothbrush, and then just snap that off. Boom, done. The battery and the motor are 1.5 volts. They're really easy to find. You can get them at pretty much any hobby store or online. So what you're doing here with the battery and the motor is pretty simple electronics. You're going to create a circuit. So one end of the battery is going to give a negative charge, the other is going to give a positive charge. And without both of those charges, it doesn't, the motor doesn't operate. So when you connect the top wire to the negative side of the battery, it will create a charge. There you go. So let's do the snowman first. First things first, make your carrot nose. You can do a couple of things. You can twist this orange pipe cleaner around. It can snap in your hand. Okay, and then put it into the white puff ball. Now, with the pipe cleaner, you can actually use the metal, the exposed metal, to kind of actually screw it into the puff ball, and it stays pretty permanent in there. So you don't need to use glue for this. It's a very long carrot. Okay, then you're gonna glue the eyes on. I'd recommend just getting a strip of, one line of glue right across the top. Don't worry about, 2 dots or anything like that. Just get it on there. And that'll be true for all eyes. Now, the first step, it obviously looks like a bird. So that's why we're gonna add the second snowball to make it look more like a snowman or even more like a bird, depending on your perspective. That's the basic design for the snowman and the jumps. Okay, next we will let's do the reindeer. Now these are the 2 parts for the antlers. I should show you the before and after. Here's the completed reindeer with the red nose and everything. Of course, the red nose is optional. The antlers, however, are not, because otherwise it's just a brown dot with a red nose. So for the antler, I would recommend just bending this down maybe kind of a little bit more than halfway, and then twisting around. And then with the loop that you made there, just bend that in the middle. It almost kind of looks like a heart, but then you kind of bend it around so it looks more like an antler. My instructions will frequently say, so it looks more like the thing I'm trying to make. Okay, now what I've done here, I don't know if you noticed that, but you just pull off some of the fluff at the end of the pipe cleaner, and that'll expose some of that metal, which again, you can use to screw into the brown puff. The first one is the easiest. The second one is the hardest, but don't let that stop you. You can, of course, make your antlers shorter if you want. This one's a little bit long. Actually, both examples I've made are kind of long, but I've given you plenty of length of pipe cleaner to use there, so you have some options. If you are going to cut it, you can use a pair of scissors. Just make sure they're not your really, really good pair of scissors, or Martha Stewart will come after you. All right. That's screwed in more or less. Okay, excellent. I recommend doing the nose first, just because, just like the carrot, / beak of the Snowman, it kind of makes putting the eyes on a little bit easier because there's another component to kind of bump up against, if that makes sense. Okay. You can put the nose a little bit lower. This glue that I'm using, by the way, tacky glue, it dries up pretty well. So if you see white, don't worry about it too much. It will dry up and pretty clear. Okay. Throw some eyes on there. The smaller eyes are the weirdest looking and the hardest to work with. The nose will obviously move around while you're working on this, so just kind of get them all together. And again, this is why I recommend making these components a couple of hours before you put the bot together. For the walrus, you're going to take your 2 white pipe cleaners, and those are the tusks, and get a little bit of the fluff off of one end. And again, like the antlers, you can make these smaller. Some walruses definitely have smaller tusks than others. And screw this in. And again, like the antlers, the first one's the easiest. And get that in. My favorite fact about the walrus is they spend most of their time out in the water, except for, I think it's the summer months, usually April through August, they spend on beaches on and around the state of Alaska. And they spend most of their time sleeping. And when they get up, they go into the water for 2 things. One, to play. They do it for a couple things. To play, to dig around for clams and mollusks, their main diet staple, and also to scratch around on the bottom of the ocean, of the sea floor, which they use to get the parasites off their body. But most of the time they're sleeping. So again, it looks like a very giant, freakish looking spider at the moment, but that's why you have your other 2 pieces of pipe cleaner to make the body and the flippers. Now for the flippers, it's very similar to the antlers. You bend the small loop here and just twist here, leaving about, I'd say about 2 centimeters in the middle for the part where it's going to be attached to the bot itself. So twist this here. There you go. And then twist this. And that is our walrus's flipper. So those are the basics for the characters that we're making for this. So now let's do the actual bot itself. Okay, so you've got your toothbrush. I've already cut off the arm of the toothbrush. These are new toothbrushes, don't worry. First thing you're gonna do is take one of your pieces of tape. I've given you 2. If there's one that's a little bit bigger, use that one. These are double-sided, so go ahead and put that one down, and then peel off the label. Okay. And next, you're going to take your motor and attach it with the weight that's on the end, the weight that offsets the motor and creates the vibration. You're going to put that towards the back of the toothbrush, and you're going to adhere it there. Okay. Next, take your wires and just kind of move them around, and you're going to place the red wire down first. Now, one tip: these have been stripped, so you have a good length of exposed wire here for a reason. The more exposed wire you have on the battery, the better your connection will be. So you want to make sure you don't put the battery on top of the red wire, the red itself. You want to make sure you put it on top of the exposed wire. So put that somewhere in the middle of the tape there, the exposed wire, and then go ahead and put the battery on. Okay. So we've got the flipper of the walrus here. We're going to go ahead and put that in the middle between the battery and the motor. Next, you're going to take the head of the walrus, or whichever one you're doing, And you can just tape him to the front end of the small bit of tape, small piece of tape that I've given you. And then underneath that, you're going to take the exposed wire and put that about the middle of the tape. And I would put it right underneath the head of the creature that you're making. That way you know which, that way you know which, where you're placing it. Because you're going to put the head pretty much right on top of the battery. I mean, if you're using googly eyes, you got to make it count. And once I contact these, it'll start shaking, start vibrating. Yeah. Okay, let's let him go. Spinning around, Walrus. All right. It's a lot of fun. You've got a couple of different options here. Again, you can make the Walrus, the Reindeer, the Snowman. You can probably make all three and just take one apart. You can get a lot of life out of this craft. So go ahead and make whatever you want. Hope you had a lot of fun. Thanks again for doing the craft, and stay safe out there, and see you next time.